Secession. That's what I want to talk about here for a minute. And really, what I want to do is expand on some comments I made the other day about secession. And also, I'd like to make some comments about people who watch my videos. Because if you've watched me for any length of time, you know that I have a very low tolerance for stupid. It's a pet peeve of mine, and I just can't take stupidity. Another thing I can't take, and this really pisses me off, is when people put words in my mouth and accuse me of saying things that I never said. So I'm going to talk about all of that in one quick video. I posted a video the other day, and I titled it, "The Time to Secede." And I will link that video in the description below. So check it out if you haven't already. And in that video, I was specifically replying to a comment that I got on actually another platform, where this person said that Dominion voting system was just purchased by a Trumper, and that all future elections are going to be rigged and no Democrat will ever win another election. Something to that effect. And speaking purely hypothetically, as I made clear in the video, I said, if that were to happen, if we were to get to a point in this country where Democrats, because the votes are rigged in whatever way, are never able to win elections going forward. And you can just as easily make this argument on the other side. If Democrats were in a position to rig elections and Republicans could never win elections going forward because they're all just rigged, then at some point, the states that are being denied representation, because that's what would be happening, their votes don't count, they would have to secede. They really would have no other choice. You know, the Constitution would essentially be meaningless. It would be a violated, broken contract, essentially. Because part of the Constitution ensures to the states a Republican form of government. And if all future elections are being rigged in favor of one party, then certain groups of people, states, are being denied representation. They're being denied the constitutional guarantee of a Republican form of government. And so what's the point of staying in this union? So I was making that point as a theoretical matter. Never once said it's time to secede. In fact, I didn't title my video, "It's Time to Secede." I titled it, "The Time to Secede," meaning that hypothetically, this would be the time to secede if something like that ever happened. But we're not there yet. And I never suggested that we should secede right now. Yet, I had many people in the comment section, you know, clutching their pearls and very upset that I suggested that states should secede from the union right now. That would be civil war and blah, 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 blah. Very upset with me for calling for secession. But I never called for secession. And so that brings me to, you know, my comment on fucking stupid and annoying people. If you are going to comment on something I say, or if you are going, especially if you're going to get upset with me for some reason, could you at least get upset with me and disagree with me about things I actually said? And stop putting words in my mouth and accusing me of saying things I never did? Really pisses me off. And just, you know, as a personal recommendation for you, you know, that's sort of bad form when interacting with other human beings on this planet. Just in your own personal life, take this advice. Don't do that. Don't accuse people of saying things they never did. You know, you can destroy relationships that way. And maybe some of you have already done so and haven't learned the lesson. It's really fucking... and you know what it is? I was going to say it's really fucking annoying. But it's also, unless you're just too stupid to understand what is being said, well, then that's a problem of stupidity. Or it could be just a problem of character. That you intentionally lie about what other people say. You can't deal with you can't just disagree with them for what they said. You have to lie about what they said and then disagree with that. Really bad character. So I don't know what was the motivation for each individual who accused me of saying things that I didn't say, whether it's rank stupidity or just a lack of character. Whatever it is, it's fucking annoying. So just putting that out there. Now, one more thing I would like to say about secession. And again, for you dimwits, I am not calling for secession. Is it a good idea, by the way, as a tangent here, is it a good idea for a YouTuber to tell people in their audience that they're stupid? I don't know, and I don't much care. Not really interested in having blithering idiots in my audience anyway, so if they get butt hurt and leave, oh well, don't let the door hit you on the way out, dumbass. But anyways, the other point I want to make about secession is this. I don't know how you think this is all going to end in this country. Now, I'm hoping for the best, but I'm not very optimistic. We're going to have to change some things fundamentally in this country if we're going to be able to live with each other. And I think that unless we do something to address the fragmentation of the media, and especially social media, you know, the way the algorithms drive division and all this stuff, and the fragmentation of the media to the point that people live in their own information bubbles. We are not in this country dealing with the same reality. People who live within information bubbles that they create for themselves, they cannot relate to anyone outside of their information bubble. Because they do not believe that the world is any way other than what they are presented in their information bubble. And the information bubble, they create themselves. They choose it. And then, you know, the algorithms, if you go on social media, even here on YouTube, the algorithms reinforce the information bubbles. They show you only what they know you want to see and nothing that you don't. So you are never presented any information that challenges anything that you believe, no matter how wrong what you believe may be. In fact, everything that you encounter during the day, in terms of information, reinforces the bullshit lies that you believe, depending upon what information bubble you're in. So, I mean, if you watch Fox News and you live in that information bubble, then everything that Donald Trump does is legal and good. The 2020 election was stolen. The January 6th was not an insurrection. It was a peaceful protest that only descended into a riot because Joe Biden somehow sent FBI agents into the crowd to rile them up and led them into the Capitol. I mean, you just believe the most ridiculous fucking things. You believe that vice presidents have authority to throw out electoral votes. I mean, you just believe all kinds of fucking nonsense. And if you live in other information bubbles, you believe other kind of bullshit. So, these information bubbles, and the fact that money, a lot of money is made, all all the financial incentives exist for creating these information bubbles and for telling people only what they want to hear and nothing that they don't, no matter how wrong that stuff is. And look, you could see with Fox News, they made a conscious decision after the 2020 election, when they actually reported the fact that Donald Trump lost. They were the first to call Arizona for Biden, and Trump turned on them. He was pissed. How dare you, call these states and call the election for Joe Biden. He was pissed. And if you'll recall, people were leaving Fox in droves, going to Newsmax and OAN and everything. And we know from the Dominion lawsuit that Fox News, at that moment when they were bleeding audience and Trump was attacking them, they made a conscious business decision to start pushing the lie about a stolen election, even though they all knew it was bullshit. Internal communications, depositions, all part of that lawsuit demonstrate very clearly the fact that all of these people who were on air pushing the lies about the stolen election knew that they were all lies. And they did it anyway because that's what their audience wanted to hear. And they have not strayed from that formula ever since. They tell their audience only what they want to hear and nothing that they don't. But it's not just Fox News. It's Newsmax. It's AON. It's also left-wing platforms. They do the same thing because that's where the money is. And it doesn't matter whether it's the left or the right. These audiences, people on YouTube, people in the podcast world, people watching cable news, many people on both sides get very, very angry if you tell them anything that they don't want to believe. And they won't watch you anymore. They won't watch your network. They won't watch your channel. They won't listen to your podcast, whatever it is. If you try to tell them anything they don't want to believe, that's it. They don't watch you anymore. And, these cable networks and these various podcasts and YouTube channels, they exist to make money. And if the only way to make money is to tell the audience only what they want to believe and nothing that they don't, then that's exactly what they're going to do. And a lot of times these audiences, and I'm telling you, it's on all sides. Of course, it is so much more acute on the MAGA right, but it does exist everywhere. These audiences demand to be lied to a lot of times. And they will punish you if you don't. Because a lot of times what they want to hear is not true. And there's plenty of people out there on cable news and the podcasts on YouTube who are willing to tell them the lies that they want to hear and present them as truth. And if there are people willing to tell them those lies, then they'll go there and they'll abandon you. If you're trying to tell them the truth, they got a choice then. They have a choice between people who will tell me the truth that I don't want to believe, or these people who are going to tell me comforting lies that I do want to believe. So I'm going to go over there and believe those lies because it's what I want to be true. And so that's why all the financial incentives all around, but especially in right-wing MAGA, Trump propaganda media, because the whole narrative about Trump, who he is, what he's doing, what he has done, that must be lied about. Everything they believe about this criminal piece of shit is a lie. The myth of Donald Trump. They lie about everything. We just had this Chinese, this trade deal with China. He creates a huge fucking problem. Then he goes and begs China to bail him out. And he gets a little bit back, so he does a little bit to back out of the problem that he caused. We're still worse off than before he caused the problem. And yet all across Trump propaganda media, Trump is being hailed as the greatest deal maker of all time. He's the fucking worst deal maker of all time. The people who are celebrating him, these farmers, they're coming out worse. They're celebrating him while coming out worse than when Donald Trump started this stupid tariff war. I mean, the whole thing. And the point is, whether it's about his crimes, his policies, his personal character, the things he says and does, they have to lie about everything. And so the lies are so much more intense and pervasive on the MAGA right than they are anywhere else, because they have to. But there's lies everywhere, and there's media bubbles, information bubbles, and people who curate information bubbles for themselves in which to live. At some point and to some degree, they're being lied to because because they're being fed what they want to believe, and sometimes they want to believe things that are not true. And so the point is, boy, I got far afield from secession, but the point is, if we have people who can't even agree on, in this country, can't even agree on a basic set of facts, they can't even agree on what reality is, basic reality is, and all the media's incentives are to force groups against each other, force hatred among the groups, and just constantly feed them lies and propaganda. Where do you think this is going? I'm not saying it's going to end in secession. Because it's not, there's not a clear line of demarcation between one group and the other. They're among us. We're all among each other, living in our own personal information bubble. So it's not so easy as, the North versus the South. So I don't know how, honestly, that would even work. The point is, this country's only going to get much, much more divided unless we can do something to address the fragmentation of the media. And not that I'm advocating, media conglomeration here. I mean, part of the problem has been corporate media. It's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying the fragmentation in terms of these people over here are presenting one set of bullshit, altering reality. This other group over here is presenting another, another view of the world that is completely disconnected from reality. And, nobody's reporting facts, or they're only reporting facts that are facts that little group and the people within that bubble actually want to be true. If they don't want it to be true, then those facts don't get reported. And so you have people walking around this country who can't even agree on basic reality. And they're being prodded at every turn in the media to hate each other, to hate people in those other little fucking information bubbles, in those other little tribes. It's bad. I don't know what the answer to it is, but it's bad. And unless we somehow do something to address that problem, I don't see any way the division becomes anything but worse. Anyway, that's it. Thanks for watching.